welcome back to another edition of the show, the fresh start to 2022, our first show of the new year. Excited for this one. Of course, joined as always by Kyle Klingman up in Cedar Falls, Iowa. Kyle, how are you this morning?
I'm doing good. What a great way to kick this off, man, with you after a great flow event yesterday. I know that it wasn't what you guys wanted or what everyone wanted with some caveats, but man, the four matches with the Arizona State Michigan, it was really fun to watch. Kudos to you guys for pulling that off.
Yeah, thanks. It was a lot of fun. You know, as you said, right? We obviously everybody would have wanted 10 exciting matches, maybe even a couple bonus matches. But four was what we were allowed, and four was what we did. And hopefully people got to see the type of event that we're capable of producing: the atmosphere, the lights, the glamour, the everything else. I enjoyed it the best we could, and would love to do it again. So, you know, keep our fingers crossed and look forward to something again in the future. Um, and you, Kyle, looking, that was looking back. Looking forward, we got the multi-divisional national duels this weekend. What excites you about that?
Everything. I went in 2020 for the first time, so setting this up still with track wrestling at that point, and it was on track wrestling. And Andy was going to get to go by himself, and it was one of the few times I've ever been jealous of someone else because they got to go to an event and I didn't. And what happened was Andy decided it was cheaper to drive and said, "Hey, do you want to go?" And I was like, "Dude, I was jealous the whole time that you got to go and I didn't." So we both got to go. And it truly is one of my top three favorite events across everything: international, college, high school. This is wrestling at its purest form, and I just can't wait to get there to Louisville and be part of this again. It's so much fun.
Yeah, why don't you introduce our guest today, your homie?
Our homie, and he's stealing an idea from me already. He wrote it down before the show. Omi Acosta of Life University. Let's set this up. So, Grandview University won 9 straight NAIA championships. Omi Acosta went to Grandview University, and the team that stopped the streak was Omi Acosta of Life University, who went to Grandview. They won it in 2022. So we have Omi going on today, going into the national duels. Omi, thanks for joining the show.
Hey, thank you guys. It's a blessing that I'm here, getting to talk wrestling with you guys.
Before we get into the particulars about you winning a championship, going to the national duels, what are you going to do with the idea you just stole from me with the Omi is my homie? What are you going to do there? You going to put your picture on there? What are you going to do?
I don't know. Probably put my picture and Omi's my homie, hashtag Lucha, maybe. I don't know. Probably see us wearing that sometime soon.
And just Life University has a lot of names you can use with wrestling. I think you have a Wrestling is Life shirt too, but it's got a nice ring to it. Wrestling is Life. Who came up with that idea?
I did one day. I was just, it's that thing that, everybody's finding something different. We all have struggles that's beyond wrestling. So, life is wrestling. We battle stuff, we get through it and we overcome adversity.
Has that been a popular shirt?
Yeah. We make it every year. That's our most popular one because it's kind of like, it goes with the school.
Let's go back to where you're from, Dominican Republic, before you came to Florida. Had you wrestled in Dominican Republic before you came to Florida, I believe, at the age of 16?
No, I did a little bit of judo, so I had a little bit of judo background, but I never really knew what wrestling was till I got to the United States. I thought wrestling was WWE type of stuff, and then I fell in love with it.
Were you a pro wrestling fan in Dominican Republic?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I was a big Shawn Michaels fan. And Kurt Angle. It was good times.
What brought you to Florida?
My mom got remarried, and then my stepdad is from Miami. He's Dominican too, but he lives in Miami. And then my mom got married and decided that I needed to get out of Dominican Republic, and we moved. And since then, I've been here in the United States.
And then how did you find wrestling initially?
I went to South Dade High School down in Homestead, Florida, and it's a pretty powerful known wrestling program in Florida, and it was just me hanging out with a couple guys that wrestled and got me away from trouble, and I joined the wrestling team, and since then it's just been my my the biggest motivator to make change in my life I ever had. Without wrestling, I probably would be doing other stuff. So it's definitely something that made me a better man, a better coach, a better person overall. I needed wrestling.
Oh, but you said it got you away from trouble. Was that something that was your life steering in a bad direction, or were you just kind of like getting in little bits of trouble here and there?
Oh man, like Homestead is like a suburb of Miami. There's a lot of freaking drugs, gangs, different things. A lot of people where I'm from, they don't graduate college. They usually stick around and just do Miami stuff. Miami's a place where it's fun all the time, and if you're not surrounded by the right people, you just get stuck. I call it kind of like a fishbowl. You just stay in Miami and you don't get out, get in trouble, drugs. So it was a blessing that Coach Balmaceda was the one that that saved me.
Sure. If you hadn't gotten to wrestling, you think you'd be in that fishbowl? You'd just be in that little circle?
Yeah, I'll be living a fake lifestyle, trying to get fast money and probably in jail or dead maybe, who knows? Because that's all when you're growing up in, where I'm from.
Yeah, sure.
When you get the opportunity to wrestle, how does it save you? How do you get out of the cycle of what you just talked about?
Because you start hanging around with kids that, that wrestle, that want to do the right thing. And, kind of like as soon as I made my new friends, in the wrestling circle at South Dade, I kind of stir away from those older kids. Because when I came, I didn't know English, so I was just hanging out with the kids that didn't know English. I would get in trouble all the time. So school wasn't a priority. It was just going to school just to go to school, and then finally, once I started wrestling, I made the changes that I needed to be done, and I ended up graduating high school and moving on.
How do you learn English when you're 16? How do you pick that up?
Wrestling. Like I'll read wrestling books and stuff like that. I'll do bars and chicken wings, and I'll be the only guy with like in the wrestling room with like with wrestling books and stuff like that. So wrestling was a big part of me learning English because down in Homestead, Miami, like a lot of my teachers, some of them didn't even speak English. It was all I talked a lot of Spanish because it's Miami. If you ever been there, just everybody speaks Spanish. So um, it was difficult, but I ended up graduating and moving on.
Did you realize when you got into wrestling, most people get in because some physical aspect of it draws them in. Did you get into wrestling and because you wanted to wrestle and then you somewhere later realized it was a vehicle to help you to a better life, or did you get into wrestling to help you have a better life?
So like my high school coach, said that wrestling is a legalized street fight. So when I was coming out of high school, I like to fight people. Like it was one of my things that I get in trouble for fighting all the time.
Yeah.
And I was small. I weighed like 90 pounds. So I get my ass beat a lot. So you just I went into the wrestling room and I figured out that I could be pretty good at this if I stuck with it, and it was just the love of the grind and the love of just having dominance over somebody else that wrestling allowed you to. So that made me more appealing for me to join.
So it was a way to get away with fighting, right? To be allowed to fight, which maybe you thought was an extension of the Miami life or the not great life. And then at some point you realized it was actually helping you turn your life to the other direction. Is that accurate?
Hmm. Yes, because with discipline, wrestling you have to be disciplined, and my coach was strict with being on time, going to class and all that stuff. So I needed that structure and that discipline to be able to to make it through.
And when did you realize, right? When did you realize it went from being allowed to fight to actually, wow, this is actually helping me get my shit together. This is actually helping me get my life on track. Was there a moment that you like the light bulb sprung, or was it just kind of gradual and one day you were like, wow, I'm swimming in the right direction?
It was just like in the beginning, my mom didn't even want me to wrestle.
Hmm.
She was against it, so I just kept coming and then kept going to practice, and then she noticed changing me, and then she kind of got invested into it, and then she kind of like when I didn't feel like going to practice, she was like, "You got to go to practice," and she was kind of like a motivator too because she saw the difference that it was making in my life. So she definitely was one of the ones that pushed me to, finish what I started. And then, all my friends I was hanging out with at that time, they dropped out of school, and the only friends I had were my wrestling buddies. So I stuck around with them, and that brotherhood that you make, and when you go to, when you go on a duel and you go to fight with your teammates, is it's a special bond that you make. And I just it just became natural, and then I just kept getting better and better.
Awesome.
Do you remember that first practice you went to and what it was like?
Yeah, man, I got beat up by a girl that was in practice, and I lost to a third grader. Was whooped me pretty bad. Yeah, it was rough for the first 2 years. I was on JV for 2 years, man. It was rough 2 years for sure.
All right, hold on. You got beat by a third grader?
Yeah, yep. His name was JJ Alpha. He ended up going to JUCO and winning two JUCO national titles. He was tough, man. He was in third grade. He was my workout partner because everybody else was a lot bigger than me, so he was the guy around my size.
So how big were you when you started at age 16?
I was like 90 pounds, 80 pounds, 85, 90 pounds or so.
And
And he
go ahead,
go
Kyle.
ahead, Mark.
Why didn't you? I
No,
mean,
go ahead.
I don't know. I'm thinking if I could put myself in your shoes, I'd have probably walked away. A girl beat
Hmm.
me. A third grader beat me. I came in here to kick some ass, and I just took ass whoopings to people who I probably would think I'd have no problem beating. I, I don't know. I might have just been like, I'm out. But why did you?
Because
What kept you coming
you know,
back?
I just enjoyed it, man. I enjoy working out, and I enjoy getting better. After a month or so, I got the hang of it. I started, learning technique and stuff. There was a coach named Coach Duck down there. He was a great technician. He got me to where I needed to be, and little by little, I got better and better. I won my first JV match. I remember that; it was crazy. And then I just kept getting better. Then the next year, I was on JV again. I started a little bit in varsity, and then I continued to get better.
Awesome.
When did you get to the point where you thought you could wrestle in college? You wrestled 2 years junior college, but what made you think you could go and do that?
So my junior year, I placed in Florida in the state tournament. My third year, took sixth place. It sucked. I think I should have done better. You always think about how you could have done better. And then I continued to get better. My senior year, I was wrestling. I placed at preseason nationals too. I took third, and then my senior year, I'm coming in at the first term of the season. I beat the returning state champ, and then I break my hand, in the finals against a Florida guy, Pete Baldwin, and then my senior season was over. I didn't get to wrestle my senior season. My first term, I was out and done, and I continued to wrestle and work out. I came back, lost my wrestle off, you know, and it was tough. I kept continuing to wrestle. I felt God had a bigger plan for me. I felt like I needed to continue. So I was at a small tournament wrestling, and I won the tournament. And then this referee guy came up to me. I don't even know who it is, and told me that I should continue to wrestle in college. I was like, no way. I didn't do nothing in high school. I'm not that good. And he told me, hey, you need to go. And then he connected me with some junior colleges, and then my coaches helped me go in the junior college route, and then I did pretty well there.
It seems like you have like a lot of natural ability. If you come in and you're getting beat up on that first day, and I think you're on JV for a couple of years, and then somehow you place the preseason nationals and you beat the defending state champ in I think your first match. How'd you make that big jump in such a small period of time?
Those the same state champ, the state champ that I beat is one of my best friends. There were two twins from Braddock High School in Florida, Miami, and we met in Homestead going fishing, and then since then I worked out with them multiple times a day. We just became best friends, and we just wrestling kind of helped us bond us together, and they were good. One of them was a two-timer, the other one was a three-timer, and we just wrestled multiple times a day, and then that's when I jumped levels. I went from being average to being a great Florida wrestler, but my season got cut short, so I never really got to see how good I was in the state of Florida.
Sure.
Do you feel like you got better in junior college when you made that transition?
Yeah, in junior college, I just felt like I had something to prove. Junior college was tough because there's a lot of kids that are super good that are not really good at school. So it was definitely tough. And I just had something to prove, man. I was doing the right things. I was working out multiple times a day. I had great partners, and I just kept getting better. And I also hit puberty. I think that's when I actually became a man. So uh, it was a different ball game once I knew how to wrestle, and then I had my strength and all that stuff. So
And then you finally end up at Grandview University in Des Moines, Iowa. How'd you find your place there? Because believe me, Iowa ain't Florida, man.
yeah, it was definitely was a culture shock. So my junior college coach, Coach Robinson, he's a great guy. He knew a chiropractor named Miller, so he was friends with Mitchell. They went to Wartburg, so that was the connection why I ended up going to Grandview. And in the beginning, I really did not want to go to Iowa. I'm from a small island. I like the beach. I like being warm. So definitely going to Iowa was a culture shock that took me a year or so to get adjusted to how things were over there. I mean, if you talk to Mitchell, he'll tell you that in the beginning I wasn't, the best guy up there, but I made the changes and I got better.
When you say something like that, you weren't the best guy. What does that mean? Was it just you didn't figure things out? Did you have a bad attitude? Take us through that process.
I would say that I was just not mentally tough. Um, being from, Florida, Miami, there's no snow, it gets cold, the sun goes away early, all those little things, really mess with me. And also being far away from home, really, really took a toll. I didn't buy into the program like I should have. My diet wasn't the best. I thought just because I won a junior college national title, I shouldn't listen to what Mitchell saying. So it was just like a humbling experience that I needed to be able to be the man that I am today. Like I think sometimes having a setback like I did, my first year there, my junior year, I was ranked pretty high. Um, I got hurt before nationals, and a lot of things were not going the right way. And I wasn't tough with overcoming adversity. I was, always taking the easy way out, and I ended up going to national tournament. I got beat up. I went 2-2. I lost to people I shouldn't have lost to. My teammate that I used to beat up every day took sixth place in the national tournament. So it was pretty embarrassing. It was a really low point in my life that I think I needed it for me to be able to come back the next year and be the guy that I am today, which is overcoming adversity. I went in and wrestled my heart out and ended up winning a national title.
Well, going back to what Mark had asked earlier about what made you stick with it, why'd you stay in Iowa? What made you stick with it? Why didn't you leave early?
I believe in Mitchell. He's a guy that makes you believe in him. In the beginning, I believed in him not just enough. I was like kind of like I don't know what this guy is telling me. He's making me work out at 6 a.m. and wrestling is so serious here in Iowa. I don't know what this guy's doing, and I wasn't really buying into that. So my senior year, I decided to just fully believe in him and Coach Reedy and what they have to say, and I did everything they told me. They told me, "Omi, jump." I would tell them how high. I did everything right, and like I said, Mitchell's a guy that knows how to get to your head, and he was pretty good at getting in my head.
Do you remember the first Iowa winter you had to go through?
Oh man, yeah, I remember it. I remember I left a water bottle in the car and it froze. It was the first time I ever seen that, and it was just crazy. It's crazy. Right now I don't know. I don't think I could ever go back to snow. I just, I'm kind of like traumatized by snow. I can't. I got to stay away from it.
What was the most challenging part about that first winter?
It was just wrestling a lot. I wasn't used to that grind. In junior college you train hard but not as hard as a 4 year school. So Mitchell treats the program like it's we train like a Division 1 team when we were there, and we did 2 a days, just constant wrestling, making you stay on top of your weight, your diet, your lifestyle. Everything had to be on check, and it was just difficult for me because I never wrestling, I love wrestling, but it was never as serious as it was when I was over there. And that completely changed my outlook and made me a better person overall.
With how difficult it was and how different it was, the wrestling, and add the weather and the environment, and it's dark and cold, and your water bottle's freezing in your car, probably really uncomfortable. Would you ever just like think about like enough? The hell with this. I'm out. Did you ever consider just being like, no, no I'm done. I'm out of here.
Yeah,
This ain't right.
yeah. I remember one time I bought my plane ticket back home. I didn't buy it way back, and Mitchell was so upset about it, because he was like, "Why you didn't buy your ticket?" I was like, "I just, I didn't tell him till I told him I was coming back when I was like, hey, Coach, I found another ticket. I'll be back this day." And then I was supposed to be there a little earlier, right after Christmas, and I took my time, and that was not smart. I came back super heavy, out of shape and all that stuff. So definitely, I thought about it. It went through my head, but I'm glad I didn't. My high school coach would tell me, "You better not come back home." So I had a really good support with them, making sure I stayed away from Miami.
When you bought that one-way ticket, was your plan to go and not come back, or was it just I don't even know. I might not come back. I'm not sure. I'm only buying this one ticket.
I wasn't thinking about. I was thinking about not coming back. Um, then my mom came in. I was like, you need to go back. And I was like, okay. It was just hard, man. Like you know, um, when you have, when we, it's just tough. It's a tough time for me. I didn't. I just needed to be, away from the bad places I was in my head, and I think coming back and finishing was the best thing I could possibly have done. It's now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of scary if I would have stayed home.
Did you come back for the wrestling, like to accomplish wrestling goals, or did you come back because you realized you needed it for like to keep yourself out of trouble and
I
like
needed
keep
it
your
for
life
everything.
in the right direction, or
Yeah, I
both?
needed it for everything. I
Yeah,
needed it for. I needed to come back because I wanted to be the first one to graduate from college for my family. I wanted to come back because I wanted to be national champion. I wanted to come back because it just felt wrong that I'm doing to my team. And yeah.
that's great. Good for you.
On the weather part again, do you remember seeing snow for the first time? Because I got to think that's the first time you ever saw snow.
I seen snow in Chicago when my JUCO was in Chicago, so I saw snow there before. But like I said, I wasn't there a lot. Like over there, we only wrestled second semester, so we were go do our thing, go home for a long break, and we didn't get to really see like a strong winter. And then we'll come back, and then finish the season. So the first time experiencing snow was cool. It was fluffy. We had a snowball fight and with my teammates. But after that, I was like, okay, this could go away now.
When did you realize you had to go buy a thick winter coat? What was that process like?
Oh man, I have my Leatherman jacket from high school. Our coaches gives us one when we played for the state tournament. So I was wearing that. My friends will make fun of me. My teammates like, why is that guy wearing his high school jacket? I was the only thing I had that was warm. So I was that guy walking around with his Leatherman jacket everywhere.
That's great.
When along the line did you realize that you wanted to coach? So this is a unique journey when we walk through it and think about how you got to the point as an athlete. But when did you realize that "Hey, I want to be a coach and I want to do these things"?
So I got my undergrad in criminal justice. So I wanted to be a police officer. Um, that's what I felt that was like I needed to do to make my city better or be a better police officer. But then I got in trouble. So then I was like, I really don't want to be a police officer anymore. And then I just noticed how passionate Mitchell was and Coach Reedy. In their office, I'll go in and talk to them, and I just felt that that was like what I wanted to do. I'm like, that guy's watching FloWrestling, watching wrestling technique all the time, or Reedy's just helping guys get better. And I just felt that was my passion, it was my calling. And then I went up to Mitch and was like, hey, I want to be like you, I want to be a coach. And I graduated, and then I had to stick around another year as a student assistant because I was a little bit behind on my credits to graduate. So I became a student assistant, and I just fell in love with the process of coaching and developing, young men that are similar to me to get college degrees and compete at a high level. So I fell in love with that, and since then I never turned back around.
Where did you pick up your style of coaching and how you develop an athlete? Because it's been a pretty short turnaround. You graduated college in 2012, and here we are in 2022 talking about you winning a national championship. Where did you learn how to coach along the way?
Coming from Grandview, I kind of, like I remember a lot of things and I took a lot of notes. I also was an assistant coach at the Coast Guard Academy for a year under Kevin Bratland, and I learned a lot from Kevin Bratland for the short time that I was there. And I learned a lot from Mitchell and Reedy and all the coaches that we had there. And coming from a program like Grandview, you kind of like, if you stick around and you listen to Mitchell and you do what he tells you. Even he does a good job with his coaches. He gets them ready. If you listen to him and follow the blueprint, it's not really hard. You just gotta out hustle and outwork the competition. The same. I remember my senior year. The outlook that I had was that I gotta get better every day and find a way to get better and not let myself off the hook. So I do the same thing in coaching. I don't let myself off the hook. I don't let my guys off the hook. And I recruit guys that remind me of me. All my guys are excited, animated, just like me in the corner, and they love that. If you're a guy that doesn't like intensity, then you probably won't match here. So I like for guys that like to fight. That's one thing you cannot teach. You could teach somebody how to wrestle, but you cannot teach somebody to have that heart. So I look for kids that just have a heart and grit and like to put their singlet on and go to fight, no matter who it is.
You say you can't teach that fight, and I agree. And it sounds like you have that fight. Where do you think it came from, and how did you develop it, or how did it? Why is it in you?
I think about that a lot. It's just like my upbringing in Dominican Republic. It was tough. So, third world country, not a lot of resources, and there were times that we didn't have water. I had to like get buckets of water, walk 3 miles to bring back water back to the house because a hurricane hit or something like that. And just those little things that were constantly over there. Over there, a kid punches you, my grandma's gonna tell you you better go back over there and then punch that kid back, and just things like that doesn't really work here in the United States as much, but it was just tough over there. It's like you have to be tough, if not, you won't make it. So you have my uncles on me, my grandma making sure I'm doing everything. I'm tough, climbing trees, to play around. We didn't have playgrounds and things like that over there, so it was a lot of outside activities and things that just make you tough.
To that point, what were the biggest differences or biggest surprises, biggest eye openers when you got to the States? You're like, we didn't have playgrounds, we had trees, and I'm sure there's 100 examples. But what were the biggest things that jumped off the page at you as like, whoa, this is what it's like here. This is wow.
I was like, wow, people are organized. They know how to drive here. It's like in Dominican Republic, there's no lanes. People drive all over the place. So I was like, oh wow, it's pretty organized. People follow road signs and stuff like that. And another thing was that you get to America. Obviously, you have the language barrier. It's kind of really hard to communicate with other kids. When I came in, it was hard to build relationships and things like that because you go to a school that not a lot of people. It's only a chosen group of kids that are on the ESL class. After that, you just feel like you're in a new world. You don't know anything. TV, you turn it on, you can't watch cartoons because they're in English. It's just a lot of little adaptations that you have to make when you come in right from another country.
How many of your athletes are dealing with similar situations as you did or are?
I recruit a lot from South Florida. Most of them are, Hispanic. And I coach in Spanish a lot, so that's, I like that. Like, the kids that speak Spanish, that's pretty good for them because nobody else, knows what I'm saying, so it's pretty cool. But like my first national champ, he was similar to me. He came from right from Cuba, Omi Pozo, and he won 2 national titles in JUCO and 2 national titles here. It was in the same situation as me, but he wrestled in Cuba, so that's a super plus. It was super tough. So most of the guys I get, I haven't run into anybody that's similar to me that I just learned English like not too long ago.
What's your formula for getting guys on your roster? Because you have a massive roster. If you look at your your list of roster, it's huge. How do you get so many kids in your program?
One, we're in Georgia. There's 7 classes here. There's a lot of wrestlers here, so there's a lot of guys that want to wrestle in the next level. And as you get better and better, more people want to be part of your program, and it's hard to say no to a kid with a 4.0 GPA. That's a Georgia kid that gets to go to school here for not a lot. So, we just take guys to opens, and whoever does the best at opens, that's how you earn your spot. We don't do wrestle offs or anything like that, and that's how we determine who's the best guy. Sometimes at an open, we have 5 guys in each weight class, and the tournament would decide who's going to be the guy.
Do you ever see cases where there's different results at the opens versus the room? Maybe wrestler A does really well in the wrestling room, but wrestler B or C, just for whatever reason, excels in the competitions under the lights.
Oh yeah, we see that a lot. There's guys that are really good in the practice room that are just dominant, and then they go out there and they probably have anxieties or different things that don't let them perform as they want to. So we get a lot of that, and those are the guys that have to work on the mental aspect of wrestling. The guys that do that, because if you could go into practice and do all those things that you're doing when you go to competition, you should be able to perform it as well. So we work a lot with mindset training to get the guys to be able to pull the trigger when it actually matters in competition.
Omi, you know as well as anyone the history of what Grandview has done in NAI because you were part of the first championship team in 2012, and then they won 9 in a row. And it's not just winning 9 in a row, they dominated the NAI field. When you go into the championships this last season, how do you believe you have a chance to dethrone a giant like that?
I a lot of people ask that. It's just that the goal was never to be Grandview. The goal was to be how great Life View Wrestling could be, and the byproduct was beating Grandview, which was great. But the goal was to just go out there, have fun, and make sure my guys know they're fighting for something bigger than themselves. Every time they wrestle the match, and we just focus on the little things. We knew last year was the year that they could be taken away from you. We saw how other divisions they got taken away from them. So we preach to our guys that you could lose. Wrestling could be taken away from you. So wrestle every time like you see last time. And the guys really bought into that. And there was just some tough dudes. That lineup was tough from top to bottom. They just didn't want to lose, and they wanted to make history, and that's what we did.
Let's relate it to what's coming up here with the multi-divisional national duels. The last time you guys wrestled at the national duels of 2020, you made it to the finals but lost to Grandview 40-0, and then the next year you won the NAIA championships. But you have a tall task. I think everyone's excited about the possibility of Grandview versus Life, but you got beat by Reinhardt a couple weeks ago. How do you view this tournament? How are you going to be ready to go for this big national duels tournament?
First, like I tell a lot of my guys, like we're not defending anything. Grandview, Reinhardt, whoever they want, they could beat me, but they're never gonna come back and take away my trophy that's here in my office case. So, um, the goal is just to be the best that we could be. Like not making excuses, but this year, guys, get out with COVID and things like that, and a lot of things are out of your control. So you just got to show up and do it anyway, right? So we're just gonna go out and do what we do, which is try to outfight our competition and try to be healthy and compete. And if we do that, I think we're a really tough team to beat. So we're just gonna focus on what we need to focus on, and I think we'll be okay.
Did you say that on purpose, or did do it anyway just come out because that's ingrained in your head? Because we were talking about it earlier. You got the poster behind you of Millboy. Is that just something that like is ingrained in you
Yeah.
now? Shut up, do it anyways.
Yeah, Mitchell did a good job every day, man. Oh, me, you need to make 33. I'm like, no, I don't want to make it. You doing it anyway? Okay, I'm making it.
Yeah,
So it's just, champions. That's what champions do. When you don't feel like it, that's when you have to wake up and do it anyway. Because that's what, you're never gonna feel like doing something. So you gotta make sure, even when you don't feel good, you get up and do it anyway. Because that's what counts. That's what comes down in the end. That's what's gonna define you. And that's how you're gonna be remembered when you do things anyway.
love it.
How is the Life University wrestling philosophy maybe different than Grandview's?
The it just comes down to Mitchell talks a lot about the championship lifestyle, which is what I needed. I needed the championship lifestyle, a better student, be a better person, be a better wrestler, right? Like, because if you're average in one thing of your life, you're probably gonna be average every single little thing that you do. So, if you want to be great, you have to sacrifice. If you just call Like, lucha, if you translate fight, it means struggle. It means, just to, have grit and move forward. So here, that's what we focus on. We focus on the fight, because win, lose, or draw, if you focus on the fight of any outcome of your life, you're going to be okay. That's one of the things that God gave us. We got the ability to fight for what we love, what we do. So we preach a lot of fight and grit.
Mark, I'm going to tell you this, man. You can watch the wrestling competition, but I enjoy watching Omi on the sidelines as much as anything that I do at any competition in any sport. It's a blast, man.
Omi, how would you describe your coaching style?
My coaching style is, really athlete centered. Treat each wrestler differently, because everybody's different. Everybody has a. That's one thing I learned about Mitchell too. There's different ways that you treat your athletes for them to be the best that they could be. So I build relationships with them. I make sure I have a great coaching staff. Cole Mannion, Q, Bailey. I make sure those guys are pouring into our guys. I'm making sure we're staying positive. I'm making sure that we're there for them mentally, physically, in any aspect. So we just make sure that our guys are good and check up on them, constantly.
How would you describe your coaching style at an event? Because I feel like that's what Kyle was alluding to.
It
Kind of
was.
I'm intense. I'm out there telling my guys to compete. Sometimes I probably need to calm down a little bit. 'Cause I get too passionate about it. But wrestling's a passionate sport. If you're not, a lot of, if I don't feel that passion that I feel when I'm competing, I don't want to coach anymore. I'm going to go do something else. I wake up every day blessed to do my hobby as a full time job, and I'm gonna take advantage of it. And I'm gonna be there like I never been there before. I'm gonna be after my guys, and we're gonna have fun with it.
Yeah.
Win, lose, or draw, you're gonna see me screaming, jumping, doing whatever.
And that's the word I don't know if I was looking for, but that's the word I thought you would say is passionate. And Kyle, maybe it's the same. How would you describe Omi's coaching style that you know of and specifically at an event? Because you were kind of leading me into that.
Well, for me, I describe it as entertaining. That's how I would describe it. Because hey, you're having guys. There was one time you're like, go ahead, flex, and you had a guy actually flex on the mat. You wanted him to flex after a win, and you get into it, man. It's fun to watch you.
Yeah, man. Why not? Wrestling is already a serious sport. A lot of people are serious about it. Why not loosen up a little bit, have fun? 'Cause that's why I notice when my guys do the best, when they loosen up, when they're having fun, they're moving their feet. They're flexing, they're smiling. That's the best. That's the best time to be, wrestling right there.
Love it.
And you got some jacked up dudes. We got some pictures that Andy Hamilton took from last time. They're classic pictures we have. So you do a nice job in the corner.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Well, I got something that's going to turn up the heat a little bit. We have 5 questions. It's called Sweat It Out. Are you ready to play our game?
Yes.
All right. Question number 1. Who is the current president of the Dominican Republic?
Oh, I have no idea. Actually, my sister told me that the other day. I don't follow politics. Well, he's doing a good job, though. He's doing a good job with corruption over there. That's what I heard, but I have no idea.
Well, his name's Louis Abinader.
Okay, there
Or
you go.
Luis.
Thank
I
you.
don't know. Luis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who it is. All right. Number 2. I'm hoping you get this one. I didn't know it. I had to look it up. Name the wrestler who represented the Dominican Republic at 61 kilograms at the 2017 World Championships in Paris.
Oh, LOL. I have no idea. No idea.
And the reason I
Kyle,
picked 61 is because it's your weight class or what you would have wrestled. Tommy Jesus Garcia Sanchez.
Okay.
So you don't know who
I
that
need to
is. That's
follow
all
up
right.
now.
Kyle's bringing the heat
All
today.
I
I
know,
am.
man.
Got him sweating.
I like this. Number 3, who placed third at 133 pounds at the 2012 NAIA Championships?
Thurston.
Yep, you got that one.
Yeah, my
Nice
nemesis. We
job. You
wrestle a
got it.
lot.
Number 4, what year did the United States men's freestyle team win the team title at the World Championships in Atlanta, Georgia?
What, 1996?
1 year
Close.
before.
95?
95. Yep.
Oh,
That was good though. Olympics were in '96, and we had a great team there too. And final question, number 5: what wrestler from Georgia was an 8-time Fargo champion, 216U, 6 junior, and a 1994 junior world champion?
Jesus.
Kyle's bringing the
Uh,
heat.
I have no idea.
He's a coach right now. His name's Sean Haig.
Okay.
His
Where's
name's
he
Sean
coaching at?
Haig. I don't even know. I interviewed him once, and I don't even remember where he's coaching. So you're turning the heat on me.
Kyle doesn't remember something?
I don't.
Whoa.
Yeah, you got me
Terrible.
sweating, man.
Mind blown. Hey,
I
we got
got
one
you
more
sweating.
game. Omi, my homie. All right, and this one, you make the right or wrong answers on this one. It's called wins and whoopings. So if you think back over the span of your entire wrestling career, from getting beat up by a girl in the third grade, those were practices, but I'm looking for matches, right? From your entire career, one match that sticks out as a great win or a memorable win for whatever reason, and then one match that sticks out as a terrible ass whooping because everybody's taken one, right?
Mhm.
Can you tell me one memorable win and one memorable whooping that you've taken at any point in your career, and you can answer either one first.
I will say the first time that I beat Tim Thurston, it will be a good one because the first time I wrestled him, it was close, and then he beat me in national duels actually in 2011 when it was in UNI Dome. It was cool because all the divisions were there.
Yeah.
And then I ended up beating him the next year in the semis to help Grandview win. So that's a pretty memorable win. And the loss will be Tony Ramos. He kicked my ass. So that was a memorable one.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, that's great, man. I've had a great time sitting here chatting with you, listening to Kyle grill you a little bit, and like understanding your story, where you came from, and how you got to where you are. And really, it's pretty remarkable and pretty awesome. Not a lot of opportunity coming over here, seemingly going down the wrong path in Miami and getting stuck in that little circle, and then like shooting your way out, finding wrestling, and not just finding wrestling, but thriving through it, having success, and finding your way now to coaching, where maybe you're finding those kids who were struggling the way you were, but now taking them and helping them not only learn wrestling and have success, but ultimately, having success at life and steering them in the right direction. Who knows, some of them might turn out to be coaches, and it's just this cycle of taking people and putting them in as great wrestlers and shaping their lives. So appreciate you coming on and chat with us. Wish you the best at the National Duels this weekend. Any parting words from you before we let you move on?
It's just blessed that we get to do what we love every day with all this craziness that's going on. So we're just gonna keep doing what we do, be safe, and God bless.
All right. Looking forward to those Omi is my homie shirts. Kyle wants 15% of the proceeds. I say don't do it. You may have to fight him in court, but I'll let you two settle that.
Sounds good, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Omi. Have a great day.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, Kyle. I thought that was a solid show and a really unique story that he's, got a chance to share with us.
Man, if you ever want an endorsement for what wrestling can do for another person, that was it right there. He credits everything to the sport, even reading, even how
Yeah.
he learned English was wrestling. So pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to do it for today's show. Appreciate everybody tuning in and watching. Tomorrow we'll have Lori Ayers on the show. So excited to chat with her. And National Duel start when, Kyle?
National duels start on Thursday. So a Thursday, Friday event in Louisville, Kentucky. So make sure you stream it. It's outstanding.
All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Everybody, for Kyle Klingman, I'm Mark Bader. Have a great day. Adios.